And now, ladies and gentlemen, removing the castle which was made by the spastics for the castle, it gives me great pleasure to thank everybody who put a pen, not yours, madam, not yours right there, that one. Give you great pleasure to push this load of pennies over, so here we go, tank it in. Every time it rains, pennies from heaven.
A spastic is a child with one type of cerebral palsy, or brain damage. About 4 children in every 1,000 suffer from cerebral palsy, and although they can be quite intelligent, their ability to learn is held back by their physical handicap.
1, 2, 3. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All of its scholars and his head. Put Humpty together again. That was lovely singing to start with.
Cerebral palsy is only rarely inherited. The most common cause is insufficient oxygen or wrong blood chemistry before or at the time of birth. The symptoms vary according to the area of the brain affected. Damage to areas like the cerebral cortex can cause spasticity, the most common form of handicap. Control is lost over excess muscular activity, and muscles remain in a state of tension and limbs stiff. Damage to the midbrain causes athetosis, an inability to suppress exaggerated movements in the limbs and face. Damage here can also cause deafness. Damage to the cerebellum is the least common and can result in ataxia, a lack of precision in the movement of the limbs. Cerebral palsy of whatever type is physical damage and cannot be repaired. But unlike a disease, it will not progress, and a great deal can be done to lessen the effect.
There's no possibility of cure in the sense of replacing nerve cells that have gone, that have died. That cannot occur, and that must be made clear. But that isn't usually the question that parents want to know. What they want to know is, can my child with a movement disorder be helped? Fortunately, many can be. Children show remarkable powers of recovery from brain injury. For instance, a child who's had a fairly severe head injury may lose the movement down one side and lose speech, but a year later may have made a virtually total recovery. Now, that isn't done by nerve cells regrowing. It's presumably done by non-diseased parts of the brain taking over the functions which have previously been performed by what's been lost.
Well, certainly we know from studies with animals, with cats and with monkeys, and also from some evidence of work with humans, that the brain is flexible. That if it suffers some insult, it's possible under certain circumstances, or given the child is very young, to overcome this. And the assumption is that some other part of the brain takes on that role. Now, it seems to me that one of the problems that the cerebral palsy children have to face is impoverished feedback. If you think of a telephone line and you get cross messages and you are in a situation of trying to pull the important signal, your message, out of all the surrounding noise, I think it might be a little like this for the cerebral palsied individual who has an awful lot of ongoing activity in his neuromuscular system at any one time, some of which we can regard as noise. It's not relevant to the movement he's trying to make. And his task is to try and pull the essential message out of that noise. I think one of the things we might attempt to do is to devise ways of teaching him what is the message so that he can identify it, learn it, and learn to extract it from this noisy situation, from the bad telephone line.
An experiment in Professor Connolly's department has proved that given some training, someone with cerebral palsy can move a muscle just as finely as a normal person. The activity of a muscle is displayed on a screen, and by watching the screen, the subject can learn to fine down the control of a single muscle to the point where movement of the limb is invisible, yet an impulse in the muscle is recorded.
Okay. Tense up as hard as you can. Good. Relax right the way down. Now, short and sharp when I say now. Now. Good. Shorter. Now. Good. Now. Good. Now. Good. Now. Good.
I think we have good evidence which shows that we have been able to reduce the interference and to help an individual identify the signal, such that he can make controlled responses of a very, very fine kind, which are every bit as good as those made by a normal person. But it takes rather longer to train the handicapped individual.
Before training can begin, the severity and type of the child's handicap must first be determined so that a plan of action can be drawn up. The earlier this is done, the better, but often children are not referred to assessment centres until unwanted patterns of movement are established and will have to be unlearnt. This is part of the Institute of Child Health in London, and Richard, aged 7, has been brought 20 miles from Essex.
Richard, can you stand up? Richard.
Apart from physical examination, assessment means painstaking observation over a period of time. Sometimes, before a plan of treatment is decided, parents must live in the centre with their child for a week.
It's certainly very difficult to get his visual interest, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is. I said his eye-to-eye regard is very poor. Now, do you feel there's any possibility that he could learn to walk, having seen him?
We've only seen him for a very short time. We've got to see much more of him before we can be certain
See,
about
I
it.
feel myself that, you know, he could do it if he was made to.
It was decided Richard could be helped, though his behaviour and movements indicated severe mental backwardness. How far this was due to brain damage and how far to missed learning opportunities, it was not possible to tell.
A great deal can be done for these children, but unfortunately, because many of them are left until too late, they develop secondary complications. By this I mean there's not only the basic trouble, but they've lost vital years of learning opportunities, and they have developed perhaps deformities which could have been prevented. When you think about it, a toddler will be charging around his home, he'll be climbing onto chairs, he'll be going into drawers, he'll be lifting things out, saying, what's this, what's that? And all this is very vital learning for him. A child who is severely disabled doesn't have these opportunities. So you've got to provide these learning opportunities for the young handicapped child.
To learn, the child needs stimulating with a wide range of experiences. Anything which arouses interest is bound to be of help. But passive learning of this sort is not enough. The child must also work to acquire basic skills like washing, dressing and eating, and so save himself the indignity of being helped. From the point of view of the child, any progress in these skills, however small, will make a profound difference to his life. But tending the handicapped is a wearing job, with sometimes only the smallest progress as its reward. And when some parents find they cannot cope, the children can end up in a large subnormality hospital, like this one near Watford. Built in the last century, it was an institution designed to put people away, and this is an image difficult to shed. In a place like this, there are problems finding staff, and for those who do work here, it's a tremendous task just to feed the patients and keep them clean. At the moment, there's no physiotherapy, and although the children under school age are sometimes taken out, too much of their time is spent confined to the wards. Much more could be done for children in the care of the state, and much more could be done for the parents who want to keep their children at home, but receive little encouragement to do so. Mrs. Mundin, a policeman's wife, has a cerebral palsied son, who in spite of medical opinion is doing well.
We was told that he was 50% brain damage, and that it would always be 50% brain damage. And I said to him, you know, what can we do at home to help him? You know, anything at all. I said, well, more or less we'd be wasting his time, anything we did with him. More or less just to keep him clean and feed him. You know, he'd never really be any good.
At Nottingham University, a research unit in the Department of Psychology is looking into parents' reactions to the problems of a handicapped child. The unit is led by Doctors John and Elizabeth Newson, who consider fewer children would be turned over to the state if parents were given more help.
I think the trouble is that those who haven't got handicapped children get a bit bemused by the fact of seeing a very grossly handicapped child and the parents trying to cope. They immediately think to themselves how awful it must be to have a child like this, which in some senses it is. But in fact, that's not the way the parents are seeing this at all. They don't want help to cope emotionally with the problem. They've usually come to terms with this. What they want is much more practical kinds of help and advice.
The best institution in the world is not going to give 2 members of staff to look after 1 child, whereas the most ordinary family gives 2 parents to look after 1 child, quite apart from brothers and sisters who themselves can contribute enormously if they know how to contribute and if they are helped in giving them confidence that they are doing the right thing and a little bit of guidance in how to do the right thing.
One of the Nottingham research projects involves supporting 24 parents in Derbyshire by arranging individual advice in their homes and mutual discussion as a group. Julie is aged 3.
If she could perhaps, you know, reach out for the object rather than it being placed in her hand.
Yeah.
So if you'd perhaps just like to try and tickle the end of her fingers now, so she's actually doing it, grasping. Oh, good girl. It's the beginning of reaching out to her world.
On a remote farm, Gwen, the youngest of 8, is also one of the group. The university has loaned the parents a video recorder which they pass around. Each family records their child doing a particular learning task so that when they play it back they can study the child's good and bad points and at the same time be encouraged by observing the progress.
That's right. That's a girl. And then that one. Oh, no, you've not gone down yet.
The recordings made in the home are used as the basis of a discussion by the group, which meets at Matlock every week. This is the chance to encourage and advise. By studying the child in this way, the parents feel less isolated and are able to give and receive practical help.
Obviously, she's far more proficient with her left hand than her right. Yeah. And I would want to know whether she'd been assessed yet as whether she was left-handed or right-handed normally.
Yes, she's left-handed.
She is left-handed.
Yes.
So do you reward her for using her right hand?
I reward her verbally. Yeah. She did get some chocolate at the end of
Yes.
that.
But do you reward her more for the right hand than the left hand? No.
That might be an idea. You're saying we could build that into the game.
Put it in. You dropped it. Oh. Put it in.
If you could keep the child in the home with the proper support, then the stress, although it would be there, would not be intolerable, and this is the point.
No, just one at a time. This one.
Well, the parents best know about the needs of their own child, and what we need is support which will use the parents' knowledge, use the parents' motivation, capitalise on this enormous advantage that a child has while it's in its home, and go on from there and do one's best to keep the child in this place where anything that is done will be done to the greatest benefit of the child.
Lean over. Now lift in the waist for the soutenu. Good. Stand up as you run off. Up. That's good. Head at the beginning, Jill. Yes.
Dancers can organise their bodies to a remarkable degree by exercising control with their minds, and with handicapped children the same principle applies. Disorganised bodies can be taught to be organised. But in the past, a great deal of time has been spent discussing the merits of different types of physiotherapy rather than realising every type serves some use.
There are many systems of treatment in cerebral palsy, and it's not possible to prove which is the best because scientifically you can't set up the experiment very easily. But what we do in practice is we try out different methods with each child and watch the response of the child, and obviously we're going to use the method that he seems to react to.
Most movements we do appear simple, but are in fact a complex sequence of individual muscle actions. The actual method varies from person to person, but a movement like standing up can always be carried out, provided the whole sequence of actions is complete. A handicapped person, unable to perform any one part of this sort of sequence, can be helped by the physiotherapist, who manipulates the body to evoke the correct action of muscles, which the brain then senses and learns.
Now, in order to teach her to rise, to roll over and to rise, I've got to stimulate the rising and the rolling. And I use her leg by asking her to pull against my leg, pull against my leg, pull, 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 harder, harder, pull, 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 and then push up against me, push up, push up, push up, push up, push up, and that's very hard work, and she rises up like that. Then we have another way of teaching a child to roll over and rise, and that is using the arm. Same sort of thing. Pull your arm across there, pull it across, pull it across, pull it across, pull hard, 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 over you go, and now up you get, and on hands and knees. And another method, lie down, a method in which we use the stretch of the trunk muscles, and I stretch her trunk muscles with a rotation, and by stretching she gets a reaction there, and then by handling her with my fingers she finishes the movement. Lisa, try and get up from the ground. Try and get up from the floor. Come on, dear.
Lisa, aged 5.5 years, has athetosis and lacks control of her limbs and neck.
Well, it's too difficult for her. So we're going to think of some other way of getting up, and over we go. Stretch, and you get an automatic response, and then by handling the child and stimulating, just she carries on and can learn to get up onto her hands and knees with a little bit of stimulation of the physiotherapist's hands.
Mark, age 6, has poor control in his lower limbs. By getting him to force his hips upwards against pressure, he stimulates the muscular activity in his legs and feet.
Up you come. Really, yes. That's it. Really hard. And once more. And up you come. Yes. Up you come. Come. Up, 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 up. Very good. That was excellent.
Joey. Let me see
Joey, aged 4, has poor head control. The muscles of his neck are stimulated by drawing on his arms.
That's right. Lift it yourself. Now stay there. Come on, be brave. That's right. Now you're doing it. You're on your way. Look, nearly. And again, one hand again. Up. Yes. Woo. And another one. Up we come. Come on, up we come. Lift that head up. Lift that head up. Yes. Now.
When Lisa is standing, she still has difficulties. Her mother is shown exercises to continue at home.
The problem is that she tends to go on her toes, turn her knees in, and push them together. And we want to teach her to stand correctly with legs apart, knees out, and feet flat, just the opposite. So, do you remember the exercise I showed you last time? Could you show me how you manage it? You've got the roll at home, haven't you?
Yes.
There we are now. You're training her to stand up, and that roll helps her. That's lovely. And stretch your knees.
Stretch your knees, Lisa. That's good.
What we're doing is we're sort of poking around in the nervous system to find what's dormant and stimulate that and practice that until the child learns. So the main thing to remember is that it's not a sort of total write-off, that there is damage, but there's a lot that's undamaged and that we can stimulate and work on and believe in. And what they have got is they feel their muscles and limbs, and this input, this feeling of joints and muscles and feeling of the skin is a sensory stimulus to the nervous system which evokes a motor response, whether the child understands or not. So that's quite encouraging.
Come on over to me now. Nice and straight walking.
Martine, aged 3.5, is ataxic and so unsteady on her feet. Her movements are asymmetrical, and she's working to learn to balance.
That's good. My goodness. Now watch out for the step here. Be careful. Good. Good girl. Right over. That's it. Turn it around. Got to step back a bit. Okay, now, I'm going to place one brick up here, a red one, okay? Feet, touch it. Good girl. Okay, now, I'm going to put it, 3 of them there. Slowly, Marty. Let me see, go to the blue one. Okay, wait a minute now.
Left thigh down here. Heel forward. And down the left hip as you take your next second. Lift it behind.
To achieve a particular skill calls for more than practice. There has to be ambition, a sense of goals to be achieved. A successful training program means a plan of education in a broader sense. Dr. Simon Haskell trains teachers of the handicapped at the University of London.
In the past, the care and the management and the education of handicapped children, especially brain-injured children, has been the responsibility of doctors. This has historical reasons, and much of the work they have done has been of enduring and lasting value. But unfortunately, this has led to a wrong emphasis, because it's meant that the actual training and teaching and learning aspects of the children have been, in the main, ignored. Instead, many of the reasons for sending handicapped children to special schools have been based on irrelevant medical criteria. I'd like to suggest that we should abandon the model of a medical one and replace it with an educational and a learning one.
Professor Petter of Budapest, who died 5 years ago, approached the problem in this way. For him, education and treatment were indivisible, and the handicapped child must be stimulated to learn like any normal child throughout his waking hours. Above all, his sense of achievement comes from doing everything possible for himself. Ingfield Manor in Sussex, run by the Spastic Society, is one of 2 residential schools in this country where the Petter system is being tried out. Here, learning is a challenge which the children rise to meet. The day starts with the children dressing themselves. The teachers, here called conductors because they draw the children out, stand back and do as little as possible to help. The achievement belongs to the child.
That's it. Look at it. Fix your laces. Fix your laces. Good, Christine. Good. That's it.
Working as a community is very important. Every morning the school assembles with the headmistress for an exercise together. Today they'll practice sign language for a number of the children who are deaf.
Good morning. Good morning. Wayne, please come. Please find a cup and saucer. You all say that. Please find a cup and a saucer. Thank you. Debbie, please give the hat to Mr. Edgar.
You, Debbie.
Now you may go and walk.
After assembly, each child walks unaided as far as he's able. The best ones go outside.
Right, it's a nice day today. Let's see how well you can walk. Now think all the time. Wayne, please come. Good. Nice. Head up. That's nice. Keep going. Swing your arms. Good. Good. Look towards me. Paul, please come. Good. That's nice. Look at me. Straight towards me, Paul. Straight toward. Keep your eye on me. Keep your eye on me. Good. That's nice.
Step and out. Step and out. Step and out.
Look at Dave in front of you. Sandra, hands down. Good. Good. Nicely. Paul. Nicely, Philip. Think. Good. Feet up. Good. Good.
Stick. Foot. Stretch up. Toe. Stick. Stretch up. Toe. Stick. Foot. Stretch up. Toe. Left chair. Right foot and stretch. Right chair. Left foot and stretch. Left chair. Right foot and stretch. Right chair. Left foot. Left chair, right foot and stretch.
The general policy must be that the child must be allowed to grow up into an independent human being and not be a child that's continually being moved from one place to another, not quite knowing why and how. The whole system is geared not to us helping them or to them helping one another, but to the child really understanding that the help lies in himself.
For the children, it's important they are not cut off from the world. In term time, parents are encouraged to come and work in the school, and the school itself organises visits to places of interest. This is all part of their education, and so is every activity which stimulates both their mind and body. Their whole day is a working day.
You come round him. Good, that's nice. Hands down, Debbie. Both hands on the handlebars. Down. She finds it hard. Yes, she's finding it hard on the grass, I think. Right, go on. Push. Push. Hands down.
Phones on. Will you take your hearing aid out, please?
The children who are deaf are taught both singly and as a class. On their own, they're fitted with earphones which can be adjusted to the correct volume for each ear.
Is that all right? Good, thank you. Put it on then. And we'll do this one. This ear first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Even with earphones, these children still cannot hear clearly. They learn words by a combination of hearing and reading lips.
Is that all right? Show me the red pencil, please. Thank you. Show me the brown. Show me the yellow pencil. Show me the purple.
As a class, they combine learning with the acquisition of physical skills. Like most of the work of the school, it's aimed towards a practical end designed to help the child when he leaves.
Are you ready? Yes, well, we're going to pretend that this is a potato. This one. So, we hold a fork, and as you were pressing with this finger, we're going to press on the top of the fork, and with the knife, we're going to press with this finger on the top. And we're going to stick it in, and we're going to press and cut. And watch you do it now.
Yeah.
Yes, you it yourself.
The aim is really to get an organized child. The aim is to create order where you have confusion. Because a cerebral palsy child is utterly confused. He does not know himself, he does not know his own body, he doesn't know where he is in space, he cannot organize himself even in the midline. And so organization, to get to terms with himself in his own surroundings, is the main aim. And when he can do that, he will be able to solve the problems around him.
Ricky, age 7, is a new boy just arrived at the school. Now he must learn what he would normally have found out in early infancy, how to coordinate his limbs in a symmetrical pattern. Without symmetry, progress would be very difficult.
He's a very good example of somebody who, when he looks to his left side, his arm stretches out to the side and he can't keep it down. And if we were to turn his head onto the other side, can you look this way? You see, something else happens. And if that always happens, that every time you move your head, you get into such a complicated situation, then it is very difficult to cope with living. So what we would teach a child like this is, first of all, to try to get his head in midline, and also to use his hands to control himself, to grasp. So, Ricky, would you like to try and hold this stick? I'll put it in this hand, and you perhaps put the other hand down. Can you? Can you put the other hand down? Come. Ricky, this hand down. Come. And see if you can hold on to it. Now look at the ceiling, look in the middle. Turn your head and look in the middle and see if you can get into the middle. And see if you can hold on. Now push hard with this hand, there's a good boy. And push hard with this hand, and we'll see if you can hold it on your own. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. That was very good. 4. Now we're going to stop jerking, aren't we, Ricky? Stop jerking, and we're going to hold our hands together. Try and give me this hand. Give me this hand. Come. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give me this hand. Give me this hand. That's right. Good boy. That you did very nicely. Now we're going to put them together, and we're going to see. Now you can feel you've got them together if you can hold on to them, because you've just done it for a few seconds, haven't you, once? And so very hard if you can hold these hands very firmly together. And to that you've got to get your wrists together, haven't you? Your wrists together and push. Hold tight. Hold tight. Hold tight. But don't pull. Hold tight. See, this is what happens at this stage, and that is why you can't yet do anything, because to function in life you must be able to hold on to things in midline. Now when he's learning to do this, at the same time as he's learning this, we would right away from the very beginning teach him to hold a cup, so that he knows why he's learning to hold his hands, because holding your hands is of no great interest to a child, but holding a cup is. So at the same session of work we would immediately make him try and hold his cup. At the moment I'm helping him much more than one generally does, but I'm helping him just to get the feeling of holding on. Now try and hold on to the cup with this hand. Hold on. Now Ricky, Here's your cup. Just like when you sit at the table. And try and hold it. Grasp and feel you've got it in your hands. And think, I hold, I hold, I hold, I hold. Think about it, Ricky. Look at the cup. Look at your cup. You see, as soon as he turns his head, something happens to him, and this, of course, makes life extremely difficult. So we'll try again. Look at your cup and see if you can hold it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Now take it to your mouth. To my mouth. Come up. Up. Good. Up. 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 Good. And down. Now he's holding with the right hand. And down. There. Well, this is the very, very beginning. And he is, as you can see on his face, he's working. And he is trying to cooperate. But he has a long way to go.
I grasp my plinth. I grasp my plinth.
The plinth is the basic piece of equipment designed by Professor Petu for all exercises, and in Hungary it also serves as a bed. It's slatted to provide a grip for the fingers.
Out of your fist. Good. My feet are flat. My feet are flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bottoms back. I stand up. I stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We use counting and speech because speech is the highest human activity, and only humans can use speech. And we want to raise the child as high as we can within the human level. And if he uses speech, he will use to organize himself, and he will learn to organize himself. And so he will learn to repeat, for instance, an action from the person who is taking the class, who is called the conductor, and he will then intend what he's going to do. He will say, she will say to him, I stretch my arms, and he'll repeat, I stretch my arms, and then he will do the action while he counts to 5. And the idea of this is that he, by learning to intend, he will organize himself towards an action. And by counting, the counting to 5, or the saying of stretch, will give him the rhythm which is lacking in the cerebral palsy child, a sort of time within which he can fulfill a task.
Forward grasp and give a pull on a bright sunny day. Debbie and Ian, pull on your plinth now, your plinth now, your plinth now. Debbie and Ian, pull on your plinth now, on a bright sunny day. Forward grasp and give a pull, a pull, a pull. Forward grasp and give a pull on a bright sunny day. Who can hold with both their hands, both their hands, both their hands?
The baton is designed to teach a steady hand grasp, which at one time was quite beyond many of these children. On hand grasp depends so much, including standing.
We can hold with both our hands, both our hands, both our hands. We can hold with both our hands all day long. Above my head, above my head. your head, then you'll be able to put your vests and shirts on in the morning. This is going to help you with your dressing. And down. And down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I let go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. When you've let go, grasp your plinth. Ready to go on. Little wrinkles.
The next class is using a third piece of Petio equipment, the ladder-back chair. Apart from a walking support, the rungs are used to practice the grasp and release of hands, which the children find difficult.
Very good hold. Good. I move my right hand down. I move my right hand down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Grasp and stretch. Very good. Keep stretching those elbows. I move my left hand down. I move my left hand down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Grasp and stretch. When we're right down to the bottom of our chair, what do we sing? All right, are you ready? Low, do, again. Low, do. Sing for us, Brendan. Andrew, sing for us. Again. Very good.
Ian, will you start us off, please?
Stand up.
1, 2,
3, 4, 5. Push.
I center left up to my left and on the where I dropped. Push.
The Petio method is a method that does seem to produce results. Provision of such residential schools on a national scale would cost a great deal, but the Petio method is being tried out on a day basis. At the same time, apart from schools, an enormous amount can be achieved by individual parents who keep their children at home.
And on the way I dropped it, dropped it, dropped it. One of you has picked it up and put it in your pockets.
It isn't you. It isn't you. It isn't you. It's Paul.
Very good, Ian.
I can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hope for the child with cerebral palsy is real. And here these children are working for all their worth to try and win some independence in later life. Not all will succeed, but how far they're successful will depend on how far they've progressed. For these children, life will always be difficult, but particularly now, when they're struggling for their future and need all the help they can get.
One of you has picked it up and put it in their pocket. You isn't you. It isn't you. It isn't you. It's
Sister, help to trim the sail. Hallelujah. Sister, help to trim the sail.